effect that when his side was pierced, blood and water gushed out. And in the book Deliverance from Cross, published by the Ahmadiyya community London, in which it is the coverage of a function held here, a sort of function in which Christians also participated. A well-known surgeon gives his evidence that the way we can rebuild the scenario of what happened at the time. This heart was here, the spear pierced his body from that side, and it could not have crossed the swollen watery pleura, which is the description of wet pleurisy in scientific term. And the evidence of blood and water gushing out speaks of a live phenomenon, not the phenomenon of death. So he says it is a positive evidence according to medical understanding that Jesus had not yet died by the time his side was pierced, but his heart was not damaged. So despite the signs of his life, his legs were spared. Why? Because there seems to be a sort of conspiracy between Joseph of Arimathea and the governor, Pilate of that area, Roman governor, who in fact was made to decide against Jesus Christ against his will, despite the dream of his wife. So what seems possible is that he willfully had appointed the time of crucifixion to be a time somewhere after the midday of Friday. He knew better than anybody else that according to the Jewish Christian, nobody would be permitted to hang beyond the hour of sunset. In fact, the bodies were taken down much before that. So there was every likelihood that while ordinarily the death took place within 3 days and nights, that is the time by which they were kept to remain hanging. They were kept remaining hanging. Mm-hmm. And despite that, there was an additional precaution. A leg should be broken, lest if they were alive, they should die. So in case of Jesus Christ, he hung upon the cross only for 3 or 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Because according to the time of the year, the days had already started shortening. Now they were still short, and they were not yet elongated as we find in the summer. And before the sunset, the bodies of all these 3 were taken down. Although the legs of the criminals were broken, he was spared. Why? I believe out of special courtesy and out of some secret orders. While within 3 hours, the death was not normal to have occurred. Again, when you read Bible, you'll be surprised to find this expression of wonder when Pilate was told by Joseph of Arimathea that he's dead, so hand over his corpse to us and we'll give it to the Christians for a decent burial. He said, already dead? He knew how long it took normally for people to die a slow, torturous death upon cross. But still, he permitted him to just take away. Then what happens? There are secret goings and comings to the sepulchre, and an ointment is prepared hurriedly, for which preparation was already made, which contains 12 ingredients, all curative agents. Mm-hmm. Now that ointment which was prepared by disciples or apostles, all his followers, that was applied to his body. It contained myrrh, it contained some sulfur elements and other things which were known to be the curative agents of the time. And this prescription is still used by many, an oriental healer in the East as the most effective ointment for wounds. So if he had already died, then there was no question why he should have been applied that ointment. And again, there was no question of any secrecy about his whereabouts. Because if he had once died and risen from the dead, then nobody could kill him again, could he? Then he was beyond the long arm of the Roman law and the long arm of the Jewish people. So that was the time for him to come public, to appear in the public openly and defy them and say, look here, I have risen from the dead. But what secrecy? He moves about from place to place under the cover of night. When particularly requested to go to the cities, to move during the daytime, he refuses. He said no. And when he appears before some of his disciples who are surprised by his presence, they think he is a ghost. See, the only evidence of his death we find in the matters as they are reported in the New Testament at the time of crucifixion is, then he gave up the ghost. These are the words you find written in the New Testament. That means he died. Who said it, we don't know. As if somebody was watching and from some distance he thought he had given up the ghost. So evidence is a bit weak and not entirely dependable. But when it is completely rejected by Jesus Christ himself, then even a flimsy evidence like such, nothing is left of that evidence at all. When his nature was suspected to be that of a ghost by his own followers, he said, no, I'm not a ghost. I'm the same Jesus Christ, in the same body. Come and touch me. Feel my wounds. Look here, look there. I'm not a ghost. And to prove the point beyond, that he had not risen into an ethereal form, which apparently looked like human, he inquired from them if they had any food for him to share. They said, yes, we are eating bread and fish. He said, please give me some. And a portion of that was given to him. So the entire scenario is speaking of a Jesus who was in migration, in the process of migration. And this is a universal phenomenon proved from the Bible as well as from the Holy Quran, that all the brave prophets of Allah, although they defy all threats to their lives during the first phase of their ministry, when they are weakest, when they are told to migrate, they go into hiding. They do it quietly.
So,
like Moses did in the dead of the night, like Lot did, they all left their country in quiet and without the knowledge of the people around. So we believe that if Jesus was true, and we believe him to be true, then he must have kept his promise of going to the lost sheep of Israel. And if you want to trace him, you must trace the course of history which the Israelites took earlier in leaving the mainland and spreading over to other places. I'm talking of the first diaspora. And when you study the history of the spread of the Jews after Nebuchadnezzar invaded Judea, then you will find them to be moving away from the mainland towards Afghanistan and Kashmir. And that is the reason why